Hello AI lovers, I am Sajjad Mustafa from AI Sciences, and today we are going to learn exploratory data analysis, or in other words, it is EDA. We will start with what is EDA, then we will see what is its importance, why it is important, and then we will see what are the steps of EDA, and then finally we will try to implement EDA in Python on a vehicle's dataset. So first of all, if you're new to artificial intelligence and data science industry, you're welcome. We make tutorials for exactly beginners like you, and we have made a lot of courses, keeping in mind that beginners are going to attend the courses. So courses are exactly beginner level, and in description you can find the links of all the courses that we have, and you're welcome. So first of all, let's see if we have a data set, right? Let's start with the data set. And we want to explore it. We want to implement some AI or data science technique on it. So first of all, we need to know what is inside this data set. What is the sort of summary of this data set? You need to know, okay, so it has these many columns. So let's say one column name is make, and make shows the make shows the values of different vehicle brands like BMW and Acura or Suzuki and stuff like that. And then there are some other columns. Let me go. Yeah, so then there is horsepower column and year column, right? So there are a lot of columns and there are a lot of rows as well. So if you will just open it in Excel, it is quite difficult, almost impossible for you to exactly explore what is inside this data set, right? And moreover, this data set is not clean. A lot of columns contain missing values, in a lot of rows. A lot of columns contain outliers. Now what is outlier? We'll try to learn later. So we have to clean the data, and then we have to explore the data, that what is inside the data. So this is something that is called exploratory data analysis, EDA. EDA is actually the first step of any machine learning or data science or AI technique. First of all, you do what? You explore the data, right? You do this. And then you see, okay, so my data looks like this, so I have to follow this technique or that technique, right? So this is exploratory data analysis is very first step in your artificial intelligence, right? So it is that much important. So now let's try to learn what are the steps of EDA. So initially we will import some Python libraries that are important for data reading and data manipulation, and then we will read the data from the source, and then we will explore the column, that what are the names of column and stuff like that. And then we will check the summaries of the columns, that okay, so let's say if there is a column like let's say there is a column year like this. So we will try to see what is the minimum value of this column, what is the maximum value of this column, what is the mean value and stuff like that. What are the total number of counts in this column, things like that, right? And then we will drop some columns that we think are not important. And then we will also rename some columns, because let's say here is a column, engine horsepower. So if we will just make it horsepower, it will be explanatory enough. We don't have to write engine everywhere, right? And also there are some other renaming is required. Then we will remove duplicates. So first of all, we will find duplicates, and then we will remove duplicates, right? And then we will remove missing values. Again, first of all, we will find missing values, and then we will remove them. Then we will remove outlier. Again, we will first find outliers, and then we will remove outliers. So here, these are the steps of data cleaning. These above steps are for data cleaning. Now your data is ready. Oh, my handwriting is so amazing. So now your data is ready, and now you can exactly explore your data. Now, how should you explore your data? You should visualize your data. You should find the correlations between the columns, and you can do whatsoever you want, right? We will, for now, we will only visualize the data, and we will find some correlations between the columns. But before that, we have to do all these steps that we have discussed over here, right? So let's start with first thing first, which is importing the libraries. So let's go toward our coding environment, which is Jupyter Notebook. And I have written the code, and I will just explain the things to you. And if you feel any difficulty anywhere, just comment below and we will try to respond as quick as possible. So first of all, we have pandas to manipulate the data, we have Seaborn to visualize the data, and we have matplotlib also visualize. It is also used to visualize the data. Make sure you have already installed these libraries, otherwise you will get an error. So let's run it. It has run. Now let's try to read the data. So I have data in CSV format that we have just shown here in Excel. So I will just read the data. I'll say PD, which is which comes from here. I've imported it. So I'll say pd.read CSV, and here I'll pass the CSV path. Since my CSV file is in my just immediate folder, so I don't have to write the whole path. You can write the whole path as well. So let's read it. Here we go. So it is stored in df, which stands for data frame. It is just a variable. Now let's check the top 5 rows of our data frame. Here we go. So we just have to write data frame.head, and we have to pass the value that we want to see top 5 rows or top, let's say 3 rows, or howsoever. Sorry, it become 53 or top 3 rows, or whatever you want. So if we don't pass anything, it will by default show us only 5 rows. So here is sort of a summary that it has these many columns, and these columns has these sort of values, right? So that's how you can explore the top 5 rows. So it is data frame.head, right? And then let's explore the bottom 5 rows just for the sake of fun. So again, we have passed 5 as an argument. If you won't pass it, it will automatically by default show only 5 rows, and if you will pass again any argument, let's pass 10, it will show 10 rows, right? So these are the bottom 10 rows. Columns are the same and the rows values are different. So it is showing BMW and Acura and stuff like that. Awesome. So now let's check the data types of the columns. So if we will say df.dtypes, which is data type, it will show all. By the way, it is an attribute, it is not a function, so we don't have to write some parenthesis like this, right? So it is telling us, okay, make is an object, model n as object, and stuff like that. So let's say market category is an object, it says. So let's go above and see. So here is market category. So it is sort of an object, we can see that, right? And where it says year is an integer of 64-bit. So here we can see integer, year is an integer. Awesome. So you can see the data types of your columns, all the columns, by just one command. So now let's check the summary. We don't have to write a lot of commands for every column. We just have to say data frame, describe yourself. So we'll say df.describe, and it's a method, so we have to write parentheses as well. So it will display the summary of all the columns. Now you might be thinking that these are not all the columns. Since summary is a statistical summary, which can only be implemented on integer and float based columns. It cannot be implemented on, let's say, make, because make is makes a string column, right? And there is no minimum or maximum value in a string. So that's why it automatically recognizes the float and integer columns, and it gives us the summary of these columns. So here you can see, let's explore just a year. So it says it has year column has these many entries, right? And mean of this column is this, which means average of a car released in our data set is 2010, right? And then standard deviation, then minimum. So the car released in minimum year is 1990. I'm talking about specifically about our data set. And then 25% and 50% and 75%, we'll also discuss it later. And then finally the maximum, which means the latest car that is released in our data set is 2017. So, and also we have these rows for almost all the integer and float columns, and you can explore it here. It tells us, quite good enough summary. But the point is, we have some missing values in it, some outliers, and we have to remove, we have to clean the data and stuff like that, that we have to do first. So let's do first thing first. Okay, so let's first of all drop the irrelevant columns. By the way, guys, you have to remove the column, drop the columns according to your need. I'm just telling you how to drop the column. Which columns you're going to drop is totally subjective. It totally depends upon your problem, the nature of your problem that you're solving. Not your problem, but the nature of your problem that you're solving, right? So just for the sake of understanding, I'm dropping these columns. Let's say engine fuel type, market category, and vehicle style and stuff like that, right? I just have to pass a list in the argument. By the way, function name is data frame dot drop, right? And here I have to pass a list of columns, column names that I want to drop, and then I have to specify that I'm talking about axis 1. Axis 0 means row and axis 1 means column. So I have to specify that, okay, data frame, I'm talking about columns, not rows. So please drop these columns from the columns, these names from the columns, right? So it will be dropped, and then we will again see the head to see the top 5, top 5 rows to just check if it has been implemented or not. So let's go. Here we go. You can see that now these columns are not available over here. These columns were available before, if you can see here, right? Awesome. So we can drop the columns as well. So one thing that I want to tell you is this dot drop function actually returns another data frame which does not has these many values. That is why we are storing it in data frame. There is another way. If you want to if you don't want to store it again in data frame, so there is another way to do it, which is you can pass another argument, which is in place is true. So if you will do this, you will not have to store it in the data frame again, because it will be dropping the columns inside the data frame. It will not be returning anything, right? So these both things are fine to do. Then let's rename the columns. It's again, it depends upon your data set. It depends upon your nature of problem. We usually do this for just sake of the clarity. So we will say data frame dot rename, and I want to rename the columns, and here I have to pass the dictionary, as you can see. So in dictionary, key value would be the old name of column, and key would be the old name of column, and value would be the new name of column. So I'm replacing engine horsepower with only horsepower or only HP. I'm replacing engine cylinders with only cylinders, because cylinders are corresponding to engine. It doesn't correspond to tires, right? So I don't have to write engine, and so on. Transmission type to transmission and stuff like that. Driven wheels to driven mode and things like that. You can explore it. So let's run this cell. Here we go, and you can see that I'm again printing the head. So it says HP rather than engine HP, right? So it has renamed the columns. Awesome. So let's go above, and let's see the shape of our data. Shape means how many rows it has and how many columns it has. So it has these many rows and it has 10 columns, right? So if you will count it, it will be 10, hopefully, right? So it has these many rows and 10 columns. Now let's remove the duplicate rows from our data. Maybe someone has entered multiple rows at a time. So in my problem, let's say in my problem, I want to remove the duplicate rows. And some very small amount of problems are available in machine learning where you need duplicate rows, but mostly you don't need that. So how can we eliminate it? First of all, we will see which rows are duplicate. So there's a new data frame that we have created, and it stores data frame, and here in index brackets we're passing df dot duplicated. So it it will return, this will return all the duplicate rows. And here we are just printing the duplicate rows. So let's run it. We are actually printing the shape of duplicate rows, right? So we can also print the duplicate rows, and we are interested in finding there that how many rows are duplicated. So it says, okay, these many rows are duplicated. Okay, so let's first of all count. We have not removed the duplicate rows for now. We have just, we have just checked that how many rows are duplicate. So this is the count of our data set right now. And here I'm going to drop the duplicates. So you don't have, Python is so beautiful language. You don't have to do a lot of things. You just have to write data frame dot duplicate row, drop duplicates. So it will, automatically drop the duplicates. So let's run it. And again, let's check the count. So previously you can see that in, let's say, make, we had count of 11,914. So now we have count of 10,925. So these many duplicates have been removed. Awesome. So we have removed the duplicates as well. Now let's remove the missing values, which is one of the steps. So let's first of all find the missing values. Again, Python is awesome. We just have to say data frame dot is null dot sum. So it will do the job. So it will give us the count of total missing values, and here you can see that. In make, there is no missing value. In model, there is no missing value, but in HP, which is horsepower, there are 69 missing values. In cylinders, there are 30 missing values. So how can we remove that? By the way, dealing with missing values is quite an explainable topic. And in upcoming videos, we will try to make a complete video on how to deal with missing values. One way of dealing with missing value is just remove them. If you have a lot of data, remove them. So we are going to do that. We are going to drop missing values. So we will say data frame dot drop NA, which means drop not available values. So it will drop them. And now we are again counting our data set, and these many values we have now. Now you can see that in all the columns, in actually all the columns, yes, we have similar number of values, which means our data set is good enough now. It looks like it is good enough now after dropping the values. So again, let's see, is there any null value available? So it says no. There's no null value available in any column. So we are good to go. Again, I let me tell you, there are a lot of other ways to deal with missing values, and those other ways will be explained in one of the upcoming videos. So do watch that as well if you're interested. Right. So we have dropped the missing value. Now let's visualize our data a little bit, because we want to detect and delete the outliers. So let's see, let's say SNS. What is an SNS, by the way? If we go above Seaborn, we have imported Seaborn as SNS. So let's come over here. So let's draw a box plot, and on x-axis there will be HP, which is horsepower. So let's run it, and here we go. You can see that. For now, let me just tell you, these lines, this line and this line are the limits. Any value from left to this and any value from right to this will be outlier. Just remember this, because it is not a good time to explain why we call it outlier. Just let's say we call these values outlier. In upcoming videos, I'll exactly explain that why we call them outliers, right? So let's check outliers in price as well. Here you can see that these are the outliers, and here you can see that in cylinders, these are the outliers. By the way, in upcoming videos, I will be exactly telling you in detail what these limits explain technically and mathematically as well. So due to time limit, we cannot explain it here. So for now, let's just say these are the limits. These are the limits. And how we find these limits? There are some methods available. How can we, eliminate the outliers? So these two cells, this cell and this cell, will be explained in some of the upcoming videos, in most probably next week. So let's just run it, and it gives us IQR, which is interquartile range. And using this cell, I can just eliminate the outliers. I will again telling you, I'll be explaining these lines in one of the upcoming videos. So these lines are used to eliminate, first of all detect, and then eliminate the outliers. Awesome. So now we have removed the null values, missing values, we have removed the outliers. Our data is clean now. Now our data is visualizable. The last step was data exploration. So we want to visualize our data now, because now it is explainable good enough. So let's draw a histogram. How can we draw it? So we'll say data frame dot make. Now make is not function of data frame. Make is a column of data frame, right? As you can see here. So it is a column name. So you can access the column name by this way as well. So data frame dot make dot value count. It will return all the values of the make only. And then we are saying, okay, so not all the values, we need just top 10 values, right? And largest value. Whatever the argument you will pass here, let's say I will pass 5, it will return top 5 values. For now, let's say we need top 10 values. Not all the makes, we just need top 10 values. And then we will plot it. Plot is the function of data frame. So we will plot it, and kind of plot would be bar plot, and here it will be there will be a figure size, and let's run it. Here we go. And then we are just setting the title and Y label and X label of the plot. We have complete course on data visualization. Link will be in the description. You can check it out. And if you want to, learn all the complete data visualization, 3D data visualization, and interactive data visualization and stuff. So you can see that it says the Chevrolet has 1000 cars in our data set, and Ford has these many cars, and Toyota has these many cars, and stuff like that. You can change the number from 10 to 20, and it will show 20 values here in histogram plot. Then finally, let's find the correlation between the columns, that how much dependent or independent are columns to each other. So if value is 1, which means correlation is maximum, and if value is -1, which means correlation is minimum. So this doesn't look very good. So let's draw it, right? Here we go. You can see that we have we drew, by the way, let me explain this cell as well. So data frame dot core, which means correlation. So we are just printing a data frame of correlation, and here we are sending this data frame to heat map, SNS dot heat map. SNS is Seaborn, and that we have imported above, and then heat map is its one of the functions, and C, what is C? C is coming from here, right? And then there's annotate. We have done annotate true, which means it will show the values inside the boxes as well. If we will let's say we will remove it, it will not show the values. So let's add it back. It looks beautiful. So now you can see that the more values green, it means correlation is high. The more values are, I don't know, brown or something, which means correlation is minimum. So you can see that year to year correlation is maximum, because obviously all the values are same within the columns. Here let's say MPGH relation with price is quite reasonable, right? So that's how you can explore the correlation as well. And finally, the last thing is let's draw a scatter plot between HP, horsepower, and price. So it shows that whenever the moment when horsepower increases, price also increases. So we can explore our data from scatter plots like this. It explains good enough that okay, if this thing is increasing, that thing is also increasing, or the vice versa. How can we draw it? Just PLT is matplotlib, and then we are drawing a subplot, and here we are giving a figure size, and then we are telling it, okay, on x-axis we need HP and on y-axis we need price, and then setting the labels, and then we are just showing the plot. So guys, that's about it. That's about EDA. So first of all, we cleaned our data and then we explored our data. You can explore your data before cleaning it as well, but that would not be a good thing to do. So guys, please support our channel so that we can make a lot of good and free tutorials for you. We have a lot of courses as well on our channel. You can check the courses out, and this is the our website link. Please check it out, subscribe our channel and hit the bell icon. Thank you.